You're listening to Weird Medicine with Dr. Steve on the Riotcast Network, riotcast.com.
I need some touching in the carotid.
I've got diphtheria crushing my esophagus. I've got Ebola virus dripping from my nose. I've got the leprosy of the heart valve, exacerbating my inevitable woes. I want to take my brain out and blast it with the wave, an ultrasonic, echographic, and a pulsating shave. I want a magic pill for all my ailments, the health equivalent of Citizen Kane. And if I don't get it now in the tablet, I think I'm doomed and I'll have to go insane. I want a requiem for my disease, so I'm paging Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve.
It's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, now a podcast. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medical practitioner who keeps the alternative medicine wackos at bay. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
We also have in the studio today, in the old waiting room, so to speak, boo, it's, what did we decide your name is?
I think Cliff came up with
Museum,
a pretty...
Yeah, Museum-Andy, but Cliff came up with...
Smithsoni-Andy.
Smithsoni-Andy, yes.
That's your winner. That's your winner.
So it's Andy, the museum curator, but he's now Smithsoni-Andy. So there you go. Very good. Thank you. And then we've got Cliff Andrews, the, I wouldn't say king of all media, but he is the master of many different forms of media. It doesn't quite have the ring.
Right. Maybe one day.
Anyway, good to have you here.
Cliff of all media.
This is a show for people who would never listen to a medical show on the radio or the internet. If you got a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call at 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Follow us on Twitter at Weird Medicine, at Lady Diagnosis, at Dr. Scott WM. And now, what's your, again, Cliff?
At Cliff Medicine.
At Cliff Medicine. Very good. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy, or go to our merchandise store at cafepress.com/Weird Medicine. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear in this show without talking it over with your doctor, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, pharmacist, chiropractor, acupuncturist, yoga master, physical therapist, clinical laboratory scientist, registered dietitian, or whatever. Smithsoni-Andy. What's another?
That's pretty damn good.
You know,
spur of the moment. I like it.
A good friend of mine, since I was 16 years old, you know, just speaks a lot to how males get along in relationships, you know, over time. And best of friend, and he just knows I work in a museum. He doesn't know what I do, so he calls me the feather duster.
Oh, so he has this image of you going through and taking the dust off of King Tut's sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Your job is the beginning of the first Jurassic Park every day. Basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, right.
Well, okay, so Smithsoni-Andy is pretty damn good.
I like
so
it.
Stupid. I like it.
It's decent, Cliff.
It's not bad at all. Dr. Scott, what's going on with you? What's going on with simplyherbals.net? Have we shut it down yet, or you still got some stuff over there?
No, we're going to try to make it through the end of the year.
Through the end of the fiscal year or the end of the calendar year? Really?
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
With what products?
Well, right now just the fatigue improvement stressless. Yeah. We're working on it. Just trying to find a better formula for the sinus spray.
Okay.
Just to have a longer shelf life.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to sell it to somebody. And
well, you sold it all out, right? So
yeah. Oh yeah. No, we sell the shit out of it. It's just you know, Dr. Steve, it's 100% bulk. And being able to buy it in bulk versus being able to buy it in small batches.
Yeah. And when you're selling something for $6, it doesn't matter what your profit margin is. It's hard to make money.
It's hard to make money. Yep. Yeah. It's really hard. And like I said, the biggest issue is being able to buy in a big enough bulk so you can sell it and have better margins, because you know, it's just a margin issue.
Sure, of course.
So that's all right though. So we're looking for sponsors. Cliff,
he doesn't have any money.
I don't have any money. You know what's so funny though? I had a second interview with I'm not going to say the name of the medical company, but it's a small medical company. And we are talking about finding partners.
Cool.
And like, who knows? Maybe that could be something they have on their shelves. Maybe you guys promote them on there.
You know people. And we know Smithsoni-Andy too. He's a professional dust buster.
Smithsoni-Andy.
I love it.
All right. Well, anyway, So, Andy, what's new in science? What's the coolest new science thing that's come across your desk in the last week? Go.
Well, gee, thanks for putting me on the spot here. Well, you know, NASA is hiring astronauts.
What?
For real?
For the first time in a long time.
Is that right? To
Yeah.
do what?
Be an astronaut. Go into space.
So
Do they still go into space?
Well, your old buddy Trump has decided to have a space force.
Oh, right.
And they're going back to the moon,
Okay.
which I'm all in favor
maybe
of.
They're
we left
calling
some
us
shit
the
there.
Artemis generation astronauts.
They haven't been to the moon yet. It's all a hoax.
Shit. So
I saw The Shining.
So,
I know.
what's the significance of Artemis?
Well, I think that's the moon project, right?
Oh, is it?
This is going back to the moon.
Oh,
Back
okay.
to the moon.
Yeah. They found water in these craters that never see sunlight, and enough water apparently to just keep them going for the longest time. They can crack it and make oxygen. They can crack it and make hydrogen fuel. They can drink it. They can, use it to flush fecal matter down the moon toilet.
Right.
I was just saying
moon
maybe we could put our current administration and stuff on the moon first.
Oh well, let's get political on this show.
That's not political.
That's a real.
Speaking of medical conditions,
It's not political at all.
That's a prescription for success. Instead of a medical show and then go all political. Oh, Trump.
No, I have nothing to do with him. I said the entire
That's
thing.
true.
Every damn body
That's
of
fair.
it.
Well, let's
Semantics.
take every single
Every
everyone,
one of them.
the whole of Congress,
All of
everybody.
them, yeah.
I'm a
not saying one
libertarian,
person.
and I'm all for getting rid of
Agreed.
everybody. And I'm getting closer and closer to being an anarchist every day.
Right?
You know,
No, I agree.
Michael Malice has really kind of turned my head around on some of that stuff.
Is it the last name really Malice?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it
cool.
was probably Milicevic or something. They were Russian.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't, Malice, Malice, doesn't seem like a Russian name, but he's a Russian, first generation. You'd never know it to listen to him speak because he came here when he was a kid.
Would you guys go?
But he's really cool. He's got a show on Gas Digital Network called You're Welcome, and he trolls people because it's Y-O-U-R, welcome. And then people go, well, it's, U''R''E. And, but he'll say at the beginning of the show, let that be your welcome for the day. So in that context, it's
Right.
Y-O-U-R,
It is
welcome.
correct. I
That
got
is
you.
funny. I get it.
Oh,
would you guys?
Yeah, he said he trolls people on Twitter too. He was talking about Hitler making the Berlin Wall. It was Stalin and the East Germans.
Yes.
Right.
But and just trolling people. It wasn't Hitler, and then now they end up kind of defending Hitler, sort of.
That is a weird conundrum to find yourself in.
I know.
You got to be so self-righteous.
He is such a great troll. Check him out. It's
amazing.
at Michael Malice. But anyway, what were you going to say, Scott?
I was just say what. Going back to the astronaut thing, would any of you guys even consider going into space?
God, yes.
I wouldn't fucking go.
I would go tomorrow. I'll do the one-way thing to Mars.
I
If I didn't have,
man.
if I
Children.
get my kids going, if they were a little farther along, I would do that in a second.
I think being in orbit would be pretty amazing. It would just give you this profound sense of how big the world is and how small we are.
A
and
profound
all- yeah.
sense of claustrophobic.
Yeah.
No,
Well, sure, but I mean, if you
freaking
can get
out,
over that
man.
part of it,
You're seeing
you're
the
in
whole
space.
world.
There's no claustrophobia in space.
Shit.
I don't know. I would drink some moon water though. I'd be afraid it would make me impotent though. But I don't know. My mind goes there with moon water. I don't know what.
But if there's no gravity, you'll have perfect.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, wait
That
a
would
minute.
be
There's no
one-
gravity.
that'd be good benefits. Yeah.
Well, there is gravity,
There's
but
gravity
it's
on the moon.
1/6. It's
Ah.
1/6 of what we have here.
Well, not as much.
So you get 6 times the.
So your wiener wouldn't
erection.
fall down as far.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I would
It'd
do it.
float.
I would do it tomorrow. I would
Man.
absolutely. I
To
always wanted to
Mars.
be an astronaut.
Dr.
go to-
Steve, you would do the Mars thing?
I would, yeah. If, like I said, if I didn't have to worry about my kids and all that stuff, if I was single and didn't have a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old at home, I would be on that one-way mission to Mars. Absolutely, I would do that. How cool would that be?
I don't know, man. Matt Damon didn't make it look all that fun. He really didn't. I got to tell you.
Well, that was a movie.
Well,
Yes.
If you weren't aware.
And
right.
but it was real.
It's real. That happened.
So Artemis was the Olympian goddess of the moon, but also chastity. which means, I don't like that. In time, she also became associated with childbirth. Yuck.
Oh, wow.
And nature. Oh, and she was hunter. So she was a chaste hunter who somehow, despite that, became associated with childbirth.
That's interesting.
Multitasker.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But anyways, you can go to usajobs.gov and apply to be an astronaut.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I had a friend who was an astronaut.
Is that right?
Yep. He was a physician, and he always wanted to impress his ex-wife. And, she was into astronomy and stuff, and he figured the best way to impress her was to go into the astronaut corps. So he did, and she was still unimpressed. But he went into space. He went on a space shuttle. He was a physician and did. And then when he got back, things just didn't go well for him, and he ended up killing himself, which was really awful.
Oh, boogers!
So, yeah.
Oh man, that was the worst story that I've.
No, I know,
Wow.
and he was
Man.
we were inseparable at one point in our lives.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He's
man.
actually the reason I went to medical school.
Oh wow.
So I don't think I've ever told this story, but I was languishing in a ham radio store, selling electronic parts and ham radios, wondering what the shit I was going to do with my life, because I'd graduated with a degree in radio, television, and motion pictures, and I worked in television, but I really got sick of being told what to do by people that were infinitely dumber than me. It really bothered me. And so this ham radio store was just sort of a sort of a solace where I could just, but in doing that, I learned electronics, which, by the way, is Physics 102. If you've ever taken college physics, Physics 102 is resistors and inductors and all this stuff in series and parallel. That's all it is, for almost the whole semester. So, I'd learned that. That was the thing that scared me the most, was taking physics and stuff. That's why I took such an easy major. And I was learning Smith charts and impedances and, stuff. So this guy comes in, dumbest guy you've ever met, big, goofy, red-headed, pudgy dude, and he says, I'm a new ham. Can you help me put my ham radio antenna together? And I'm like, no, but I can show you how to do it, because what he wanted was to put up a dipole. So that's it's two wires hooked up to coaxial cable in the center, a real simple antenna, but it can be very effective. And I said, what bands do you want to be on? Well, okay, so I want to be on 15 megahertz. Well, that's I want to be on 21 megahertz. Well, that's 15 meters. Here you got to have a half wave dipole. So we calculated how far it should be, and got him an impedance matcher and all this stuff, and drew it out, cut the wire to this length, because at that point I was pretty facile with this stuff, and sent him on his way. And didn't think another thing about it. The next day, this absolutely drop-dead, gorgeous woman shows up in the ham radio store, which...
That was your first giveaway. Wait a minute.
I mean, it doesn't happen every day in a ham radio store. I'm dealing with big fat guys, with 4 teeth going, well, I got me a saltwater ground. And, of course, I was selling CBs, too. So
that's the way God intended it.
Yeah. And... saltwater ground in my trunk, I get out real good. So, I was dealing with a lot of that. And then this gorgeous woman comes in, and I'm like, well, I hope she comes over here, because we had a stereo store on the other side. Because I figured she must be going over there, because no hot woman's come to my side. And she looks me in the eye and says, "Are you Steve?" And I went, "Why, yes, I am." And she said, "Would you help my husband put his antenna up at the house?" And I went, "Why, yes, I will." So
I'll clock out right now.
That son of a bitch had sent her in knowing good and well what the outcome would be if she came in and asked me to do it. I was no way I was turning her down. So I went and I did help him, and it was kind of fun, actually. I like doing that kind of stuff. I just didn't know him,
Right.
And we started talking, and it turned out he was a doctor. And I said, you know what? I'd always wanted to go to medical school, but I just didn't think I was smart enough to do it, because in my family, I was stupid Steve.
What?
And, well,
that's bizarre.
It's not a testament to how mean my family was. It's how smart they were.
Gotcha.
It's ridiculous how smart my family is. I was the dumb one. So So I never really thought I could do it. But this guy, I'm like, if he could be a doctor, I know I can do it. And so I went and got an MCAT prep book and started looking through it. It was like, this shit isn't that hard. And I started, taking fake tests, sample tests and stuff of the MCATs, which for people who don't know, it's I can't even remember what it stands for anymore. Medical something
aptitude kind of
something
test.
Achievement test or something like that, or maybe it is aptitude test. And then I had to go and take classes. And I told my dad one night when we were having dinner. This was the second thing that had to happen. He came to visit, and I just said, yeah, I was thinking maybe I'll go to medical school. I don't know. And we just went, well, really? And we just went on with our conversation. Well, when he went home, he sent me a letter, and he liked to write longhand letters. And he sent me this long 5-page letter that said, look, you said something the other night. If you want to go to medical school, all you got to do is get in. I'll pay for it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And was your brother, Dr. Steve, was he already in?
Yes.
Okay.
My brother was already out. He's 14 years older than me.
Yeah,
so he was quite the role model for me, too, because I saw how people, regarded him. Yeah, it was like, I want that in my life. I don't have that selling.
I didn't realize. I forgot he was that much older. Yeah.
Selling, CB radio antennas. I just don't get that sort of regard, and I wouldn't have that regard for myself. And yeah. And then, there were some other things that had to happen, but those were the two things, because if my dad hadn't been listening and encouraged me right then, I might not ever pursued it. But that day, I got on the phone and said, what do I got to do to get in? Well, you got to take these classes. So I took chemistry and physics and calculus and zoology and anatomy and all that. So I took that all at once in 2 semesters. Well, 2 summer sessions and 2 semesters. And that was the best prep for the MCATs that you could imagine, because that's what it all was. So I was up against, when I took the MCATs, against people who had taken physics their freshman year to get it out of the way. Well, now they're seniors. They forgot it all.
Yep.
But I just had it. I just had I'd had every class that they tested you on at that time. Yep. And just when I saw that I got double digits on each one of those, I think they scaled them from 0 to 15. And anytime you got double digits, like if you got a 10 or higher, that was considered a really good score. And so, I think my lowest score on one of those was an 11. And I scored a 14 on something, and it doesn't matter, but they were all good. Right. When I got that letter, I said, oh, shit, this is happening.
Did you ever reach a point where you were like, oh, what am I doing? Or
no.
Did you just,
earlier,
just
about 4 hours
ago.
No, the thing is, once you get in, like, you get through medical school, and there are times when you go, God, if I had known it was going to be like this, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But in residency, for sure, there are times when you go, this is bullshit. Why am I here? But you're pot committed at that point.
Right.
And then, but those were fleeting. And it was usually, at 3 a.m. in February, when you're an intern and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. By the time then you become a second-year resident, things get a lot easier, and then a third-year resident, even easier still. And then after January 1st, your senior year, you can see you're starting to look at what are you going to do for the rest of your life. And then it's all pretty downhill. Now they've changed medical training quite a bit since my time. And I always hate when I'm talking to them to be that guy. Well, when I was young, we rode ponies to school. I hate to be that guy.
We worked 140-hour weeks.
But we did. And we
only have to work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And they didn't about it.
And they didn't feed us, and we had to steal food from the doctor's lounge, which we were not considered doctors. And, that sucked, but it was a bonding experience. But now they've changed things so much that any job pretty much that they get now when they graduate from residency is going to be harder than their residency.
Yeah, they're not prepared for it.
They're capping how many admissions and how many hours they can work. But when you get out, you don't have that. There's none of that.
Wow.
So now if you're a resident, and look, the residents out there, just calm down. It's it's just some old guy talking. I just pretend I don't know what I'm talking about because I know they're getting mad. But when they're on call, they get the next day off. There's none of that bullshit for real when you're, working. Now, a lot of docs now don't take the kind of call that they used to because they have hospitalists, so it's a little different. But if you are a physician who is primary care and you're taking call for your own patients and you're seeing them in the hospital and stuff, if you work all night, you got patients to see the next morning.
Jeez.
There's no taking that day
anymore,
off.
Though. Yeah.
You're right. It's because of I really blame, or it's not blame, but I attribute a lot of that change to the change in medical training that happened.
And reimbursement coverage too. When back in the good old days when there wasn't the insurance and there was a lot of just pay for service.
My great uncle.
You pay for service. The doctors took care of you all the way through. From birth to death, through hospital stays and everything. But now, because it's...
Yeah, and they used to go to the hospital, and they'd make rounds from 7 to 9 in the hospital, and then go to their office, and then come back after
and go home
office.
Deliver a baby. And
Oh, yeah.
Shit like
that wasn't it wasn't that long ago that was normal. My great uncle invented a urologic procedure that is done every day now, and he was a urologist, and he was unbelievably rich. I remember I used to go to his house in Chicago, and he had this big Tudor, Chicago down, city mansion, one of those things. And, at that time, hell, he couldn't have been making $50 for a procedure, but that's how money was different back then, And they didn't have insurance and stuff, and they bartered for some things. People paid what they could. He was at the city hospital, but because he invented this thing, he was fabulously rich. And I remember when I was 5 in 1960, I was 5, and we went to Uncle George's house, and he would hand all the kids a bag of nickels. And we would go downstairs. The parents would all go upstairs to his giant, fancy, wood. It's just that old school wood everywhere, living room. And they'd drink, and he'd hand all the kids a bag of nickels. And we would go downstairs. And in 1960, he had a basement full of pinball machines and one-armed bandits and stuff. Nobody had that shit back then in their home.
Yeah.
Except this insanely rich person.
Wow. That's cool.
It was cool. Old Uncle George. And I remember I hit the jackpot. This is how he got to be rich, I guess. I hit the jackpot on one of his one-armed bandits and just spewed out a bunch of nickels. And I wanted to take them home because I won them. I was 5. I didn't know. And he got so mad.
How you get mad at a 5-year-old?
I know.
He's taking his nickels.
Get my motherfucking nickels, boy. I'll fight a 5-year-old right now. I don't care if I am your uncle.
That's what it was like.
He is from Chicago. I guess that's fair. They don't play any shit up there. Yeah.
It's funny. Well, anyway, okay. Well, enough of all this, my stupid stuff. I'm going to look forward to this Artemis program, and I'm looking forward to them going back to the moon. I was a little disappointed in the spaceship, though. It looks just like the Apollo spaceship. They're like, we've got this new thing, and it looks just like the Apollo command module. I'm sure inside it's totally different. Have you guys watched First Man?
I've not.
You should watch that. It's about Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins going to the moon and how they got there. And it's got some recreations of historical things that I remember as a kid watching Neil Armstrong almost crash. They had this LEM simulator that actually had jets on it that he could fly around, and he about died on that damn thing. Wow. It just got out of control. He had to eject from it.
Oh, shit.
It was only like 10 feet above the ground. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And, if it had flipped over and he'd ejected, it would have killed him.
Yeah.
So those guys, their computer that they used to land, apparently at one point during the landing had to be rebooted. It only had 4K of memory in it. If it was even that, it might have been it was between 1 and 4K of memory.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Like, I had a little computer, I had a VIC-20. Do you guys remember that?
No.
VIC-20 I think it only had 6K of memory, maybe, then I had a Commodore 64, it had 64K of memory. But this thing had like 4K, if that.
And it had to get them home.
It had to get them, yeah.
Wow.
Had to, and it is a really tense thing. They had just a couple of seconds left of fuel when they finally touched down, and they were going to this close to aborting that mission.
Because the landing space, they weren't landing in the right spot. Right?
Yeah, and there was like boulders everywhere, and he was nervous about. And even then they didn't know if when they landed, if they were just going to sink into 20 feet of dust,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's a good point, because it's kind of a toss-up. Like, wow, man, that's nuts to think about.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So that's a great movie. I think it was First Man was the one that I watched that I really liked. So.
Did your friend and mentor have any good medical stories, being a physician and an astronaut, of like what that was like, or you know, just
At that point, we had lost touch, and so the last time I talked to him, I just said, "What was it like being in space?" He said, "You can't even imagine."
Okay.
But that's all I could get out of him.
All right.
You know, yeah, I don't know. He did medical experiments on the astronauts. That was what he was there for. So it was pretty cool, though.
Wait, legit medical experiments?
Yeah. Like, you know, cardiac output measurements and stuff like that. They'd get them on this treadmill and then measure their cardiac output. And, you know, just what they're really looking at, those experiments we're looking at, how do people live for a long time in outer space? Because at some point we may want to live in space. So how are we going to do it? I'm still surprised that they haven't put the big wheel and give it a little spin. You know, like 2001, and so people could walk around on the outside of the wheel. You know, anyway, pretty cool. All right. People don't want to hear about what we're interested in. They want to hear what they're interested in. And I've got an article about the new coronavirus compared with the flu. So this is from 7 days ago. And this was by from Live Science by Rachel Retner. She's a senior writer. We'll see if she can write, if she's a decent scientific journalist, because, you know, I'm always ragging on medical journalism that sucks so bad. But she said the new coronavirus outbreak has made headlines in recent weeks, but there's another viral epidemic hitting countries around the world called, and then she says flu season. Well, that's not an epidemic. That's a season, but influenza is the epidemic. But anyway, so another viral epidemic hitting countries around the world, flu season. But how do these viruses compare? Okay, so far the coronavirus, dubbed 2019 nCoV, which listeners to this show will already be very well familiar with, has led to more than 20,000 illnesses and 427 deaths in China, as well as more than 200 illnesses and 2 deaths outside of mainland China. Well, that's nothing compared with the flu, also called influenza. Now, this is not good. Also called influenza. In the U.S. alone, the flu has already caused an estimated 19 million illnesses, 180,000 hospitalization, and 10,000 deaths this season, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That said, scientists have studied seasonal flu for decades, so people blow off the flu. And they don't get their flu shot, even though, you know, we have they would go out tomorrow and get a coronavirus vaccine and not get a flu shot.
It's all about branding, man. Flu is not a catchy name. Coronavirus, though, it's like, oh man, I could get a vaccine or a beer, and you know.
That's right, or a vaccine and a beer. We should vaccinate people for corona and give them a beer, just as a promotional thing. People will come get vaccinated for this thing. And but influenza way scarier, but it's because we've lived with influenza for ages, and it's kind of the devil we know, so we become comfortable with it. Whereas this is a new thing, and we've all seen outbreak and contagion and all that stuff, and people are freaked out by
hysteria. Telling you.
So, 10,000 deaths this season alone. Despite the danger of it, we know a lot about flu viruses, what to expect each season. In contrast, very little is known about the 2019 nCoV because it's so new. That means it's a wild card in terms of how far it will spread and how many deaths it will cause. Right now, with the limited data that we have, it looks like the mortality rate is 2%, which sounds high. Except that means 98% of people will not get it. Now, if we look at all of China, which obviously this thing hasn't had a chance to spread all of China, you're talking about 1 billion people, and they've had how many illnesses so far? Did we say 20,000? Mm-hmm. Okay, if you do the math, right now, not very scary now, but we're still in the early phases of this. I told Anthony on the Anthony Cumia show about 2 weeks ago that it's going to take 3 incubation periods before we'll really know where we're going with this. So that'd be 6 weeks. If the incubation period is about 2 weeks, then 6 weeks we really should kind of know where we're going. How transmissible is it? Mm-hmm. Is it really easy to transmit? So if it's easy to transmit, then you'll see like one case in California become however many people he came in contact with. So it may become 100 because there's asymptomatic transmission. Is it through the whole thing, or is it just the first few days before you get sick? But they know there is asymptomatic transmission, but we don't know yet, when that kicks in. So let's say, Cliff has it, he gives it to me, and 2 weeks later I get sick. But I was able to transmit it to people. Well, was it just the day before? If that's the case, then it's a little bit more reassuring than it's been 10 days and I've been typhoid or Corona Mary walking around giving it to people. And then how transmissible is it? So I can shed it at let's say 7 days. So I'm 7 days asymptomatic. How easy is it for me to then transmit it to somebody? Do I have to really cough in their face, or do I need to snot on my nose and touch a doorknob and then someone else touch it and then stick their finger in their nose like people get influenza? Or is it just a single droplet can do it? We don't know. And that all affects how virulent this disease is going to be.
And I thought that you needed to be more susceptible to respiratory issues as well, and I didn't know if that had something to do with it.
Well, it could. So, for example, with influenza, there are at-risk populations. So, the swine flu is an interesting one because when swine flu comes around, even though I'm older than you, I'm less likely to die from it than you are because of the 1972 swine flu epidemic.
Right.
So I've been exposed to it before. The older people, it was the one time when there was an advantage of being older.
Being old, right?
Yeah, was with the swine flu epidemic because they were noticing that little kids and young adults were getting it worse than the older people who lived through that epidemic. So it just depends on the virus.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. And is it host factors? Do you have to have a host factor? In other words, some genetic receptor that allows that virus to grab hold of your cells and really multiply? Because some people may not have that. Even during the influenza pandemic of 1918, only 10% of the world's population got it. But 10% of those died.
Wow.
So, its mortality rate was 10%. Now, that still meant that 99% of people in the world did not die from influenza that year. If I gave you those odds, you'd take it to Vegas and bet on black, because I'm always going to bet on black. But, that's if we go to those numbers, then it doesn't sound so scary. But when you hear 1% of the Earth's population died, that's a huge ass number.
Yeah.
So
today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
I've not heard anything more, which is really kind of surprising about how it is transmitted Have you?
Well, no.
I mean, that's the kind of. Don't you think it's a little bit bizarre?
No, not yet. It's really only been 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah. We've got to get through these incubation periods before we can see, and now a pattern will emerge.
Yep.
Well, I got it, and I was exposed to that person, 10 days ago.
Right.
Then that kind of tells you, yes, it can be transmitted early in the disease, in that asymptomatic period.
Right. And you said we need to go through 3 of those, really, to
yes, to kind of get a feel for how this is going to expand geometrically, or is it going to expand, logarithmically, or just arithmetically, Is it, or is it just going to peak and then taper off, kind of like SARS did?
Because SARS kind of came and went.
Yeah, and MERS the same way. MERS seems really hard to get because there were just a few cases of that. Let me see how many cases of MERS there were.
Funny enough, you mentioned it last time I was here. Our local Walmart in town was actually out of face masks.
Is that right?
Yep. Now, I'm sure they've gotten them since because it's been a couple weeks. But, they were out. Went in there, couldn't buy any.
Is that right?
Yep.
People buying them and mailing them to China.
It's something.
Well, there's, I read something about there is that enterprise out there where people are buying them off of Amazon and then they're reselling them internationally and everything else to try to make money.
That is the most fucked up. If you're gonna,
can we get some custom made ones? We talked about that, getting custom made weird medicine face masks.
I'm into that. That's cool. That's fine.
I got all the face masks you'll ever want. So if you need face masks, you come to me.
Okay.
Uncle Steve will take care of you.
If he only had a game room downstairs, he'd be the perfect Uncle Steve.
Right.
That's right. Well, I don't need a game room anymore. I got virtual reality.
We let us keep our nickels if we win.
You try to take my nickels, I'll kick your ass. I tell you.
You can keep your damn nickels.
Keep your damn nickels. Fuck your nickels.
So it looks here, November 2019. There's only been 2,500 cases of MERS since 2012.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So, this one's already kicked its ass. But MERS is a coronavirus.
So they're a different
family. It's a corona family.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this one doesn't even have a specific name yet.
Not yet.
I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Hunan.
Yeah.
They'll give it a name soon enough.
All I was going to call it now is the novel coronavirus.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That is my biggest beef with social media because there's so much hysteria and so much just hubbub. Is that a word? Is that a word?
Hubbub.
Hubbub.
Yeah.
Hubbub. But people don't have the facts. But they see a headline or a clickbait title, and then that's what they go with, and then they buy out all the fucking masks at Walmart.
Yeah.
Off of no information.
It's like when it's going to snow here, though. We're in Tennessee, and it's going to snow, and then you go to the grocery store, and all the beer and the bread and the milk are gone. It's like
anarchy.
How much bread and milk are you going to eat in one day before they clear off the streets around here?
Yeah, it's the most bizarre thing, isn't it? I've never.
What are they doing with all of
the
it?
milk makes no sense.
All the fucking milk.
It makes no
bread.
sense.
I don't even eat bread half the time. I don't know. I got to stock up on this.
I'm gluten free, so
back in the good old days, I used to go to the store and I'd buy as much beer in Copenhagen as I could.
That's hilarious.
Because it's like, well, I don't need no damn bread or milk, but I can't live without Copenhagen and beer.
Priorities.
Man's got to have his beer and his chew, man.
Oh, man.
There's nutritional content in
There
beer.
is.
Well, sure there is.
You can live for years.
Tobacco's a plant too, right?
Tobacco's a plant.
Yeah, there you go.
Wouldn't recommend swallowing much of it.
It's natural.
It's all natural.
Yeah, and tobacco.
You can live for a while on that good oatmeal porter, though. It's got plenty of nutrients to sustain.
Well, you can live on water for 60 days.
Yeah. Especially if you're my size, you can live probably longer than that.
That'd suck, though. I'd be such a dick at the end of that 60 days.
Oh, no, yeah. You won't be a happy camper. No. I mean, it's a slow 60-day death. It's not like you're going 60 days and you're great and then you
feeling great,
dead.
yeah. I feel wonderful.
I'm fine. My skin's always been falling off like this.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Well, let's see here. Why don't we do some phone calls, and we'll go from there. And follow my Twitter feed. I try to post a little something about influenza and coronavirus every day. I've been a little slack the last couple of days, but usually there's something on there.
Love your show. Listening to you right now. It's 5:49 Eastern Time.
Okay.
On Sunday. I actually don't have a typical comment, but your recording has weird noise in the background. It almost sounds like a vacuum.
That's Cliff.
Kind of going on constantly. It's pretty annoying. I figured you guys want to know. It's definitely some kind of line noise or something along those lines.
Oh, that's terrible.
And,
I usually listen to it. I mean, I was an audio engineer. I'm pretty picky about the audio we put out.
Yes, you are.
And sometimes when the Weird Medicine studio gets really hot up here, and we'll have the
air conditioner,
air conditioner on that. If you're listening on headphones, that may drive you crazy. Most people tell me even then they can't hear it, and they'll say, "You keep complaining about the white noise in the background." And but we can't hear it. So in their car, if you got even any little bit of white noise in your car, white noise coming across the radio has to be really loud for you to hear it.
This guy must have his radio turned all the way up.
Yeah, maybe, or he's listening with headphones. So anyway, sorry about that. I'm happy for you guys to critique us on the audio because I want it to be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me see here.
Hey, I was wondering if you have your email. You answer questions.
Yes.
Which helps a lot of people out. Do you ever get sick of some people, not because they're rude or mean or anything like that, but because they ask too many questions? And
well, okay. Let me. I do have an answer for this.
Add their email address to spam.
So you want me to answer?
No, I don't ever do that, and I've never really had anybody drive me crazy in that way. Knock on wood. We stopped taking live calls because we had a few people who were, calling in, and I don't have a call screener, and they were just kind of monopolizing the thing just a little bit. And I just found I could control the flow of the show a little bit better if we went back to the voicemail thing. Yep. Now it kind of sucks because we haven't been doing the live shows for our YouTube channel in a while, and those were actually kind of growing in listenership. Mm-hmm. But, maybe we'll do that again someday.
It was fun. It was just so much time.
Yeah.
It was so much time.
Yeah, we were doing 3 hours every third Sunday.
And that's 3 hours recorded. That's not the time it took to do it. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I'd totally be down to help with call screening, by the way.
Yeah, so, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
I would like to do some live shows again. We've talked about doing live shows for SiriusXM for years, which we would have to do it at 8 o'clock on Sunday night or a Saturday night.
Nice. I'd be down with that.
Yeah, I know. What am I doing? It'd keep me from drinking too much on Saturday.
Shit. We'd be liquored up.
I was the show's going to stop you from drinking too much on Saturday.
No, shit. 8:15 is his bedtime. It's Dr. Steve's eyes are
That's
getting
Stacy's
real
bedtime.
heavy.
That's when I start getting shit done. She goes to bed early, and then I'm getting stuff done. By the way, we had really good response to our last show where we had Nanea Reeves on from Trip.com.
Yeah.
I got lots of people emailing us that they were really interested in the virtual reality, and we have started using it at the cancer center. Mm-hmm. Cool. And I took it to the hospice house today, but didn't really have anybody that could use it except for one employee. Mm-hmm. My physician colleague was kind of stressed out. I had her do it, but it's incredible. So if you want to check that out, go to Trip, and we don't get anything for this. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to give our listeners a discount. So tripp.com. If you decide to sign up for it, or if you have an Oculus Go or an Oculus Quest, you can just sign up on the. In virtual reality.
That's so cool.
But use the offer code DRSteve, just Dr. Steve, DRSteve, you get 20% off. And it's cheap already.
Mm-hmm. Do it. Because I don't think they'll be cheap for long.
It is cool. It is cool as hell. And I want, before you guys go home tonight, if you want to try it, it's really neat.
Oh, I'm down.
And I do it every night. And before I go to bed, and I really feel like it's helped. It's given me some clarity in my life, no question about that.
That's cool.
Huh. So, although, I've always sort of thought that Pilates, for example, where people are doing yoga with pulleys to pull themselves into these positions, and the yoga masters come over here and they go, "Oh, look what we're doing," and they're hooking their leg up to a pulley and then pulling it so that they can yank it up real high, and they're just horrified by it, right? These yoga masters. This is kind of the Pilates of meditation. There's no question about that. It's machine enhanced mindfulness.
Right.
But it is cool as hell.
Well, and your idea of getting grant money and using it for patients, too, I think is really cool.
Did my first one last week. Can't really talk about it other than it was
good experience.
Yes, very successful.
Hell yeah.
You got to pick the right people, too.
Yeah, because a lot of people aren't ready for it.
No.
They're not into it.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to put it on a little old person with dementia or something like that. They'll just freak out.
Fair.
Although they
That's
have
true.
done virtual reality stuff on patients with dementia and just done nature scenes so that they're getting to see something more than just the four walls.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be really effective in helping people just kind of be less agitated.
That's cool. I really like that.
Awesome.
And this is just the beginning. This stuff's in its infancy. But I want you guys to try it so we can talk about it next time. All right. Let's see here.
Hi, Dr. Steve. Hope you're well. This is just a really short message to say, even though I'm a few weeks late,
Whoa.
thank
Sorry.
you for carrying
no.
on your podcast. I know that you know that it means a lot to everybody that listens, including me.
Wait, I want to hear
and I'm a
this.
few weeks late in saying that because I've got my head down and I am
Wait a minute. Oh, and then she hangs up. Hang on. Okay, sorry. I got to start that over because I wanted to get Tacey on because what a coincidence that she's calling during the show.
It's basically while this chick's calling.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's a hot chick and I'm getting ready to
know
go.
it.
Damn, she sounds awesome. And then, my wife, of course, cock blocker.
Hi, Dr. Steve. Hope you're well. This is just a really short message to say, even though I'm a few weeks late.
What is it about the British accent?
Man, I don't know, but
She just sounds gorgeous.
It doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
No. She's, yeah. There you go. Isn't that something? What is it about that?
She ain't from around here. I think that's what it is.
Thank you for carrying on your podcast. I know that you know that it means a lot to everybody that listens.
I don't know
including
that,
me.
but thank you for saying
And
so.
I'm a few weeks late in saying that because I've got my head down and I am studying my chemistry and then my biology because you are part of the reason why I've been so inspired to do medicine.
Oh my goodness.
I've emailed you this before. Me again, sorry.
that's so cool.
At 26, I've realised that's what I want to do. And having your
Let me
archive podcast.
pause her. I was 27, so it's not too late.
No.
We had a woman in my class was 44. So
Oh,
if
wow.
you're called to do it, just go do it.
Just do it.
Because not to get too biblical, but if you're called to do something and you refuse the call, you're going to end up in the belly of a fish. Just ask Jonah. I'm just saying. Okay, let's let her finish her.
It's just been incredible to listen to. I love your podcast. It's my
Oh my
favourite.
God.
And it's such an inspiration to listen to. So thank you.
Okay, if all the rest of you assholes out there hate this show, I don't even care because she likes it. I'm cool.
Right.
right.
Then I'm cool.
She didn't
you
notice a hiss.
for continuing it. And I just hope that you know how much you mean to everybody that listens. And I'm sure we've all got that individual, very special connection with you. Even though you don't know any of us, we all know you quite well. And we love your show. So thank you.
Thank you. Good Lord. Thank you.
I
that
want to check the authenticity of this phone call.
I
Make
swear.
sure.
I
Hey, what's
swear.
this is Dr. Steve.
I swear I had nothing to do with it.
ma'am, you don't mind calling me, do
His
you?
lady diagnosis.
Yeah. Pulls off a great British accent, right?
There's no way Diane could sound like that. No. But anyway, no, that's awesome. Good luck in your studies. If we can help in any way, for real. And we've got Science Andy here, and Media Cliff, and Dr.
Feel good.
Quack over here, and
Hey, truth hurts.
no, but we're here. We're here for you, and that is awesome.
We're here for everybody.
Yeah, that's
but
really,
especially her.
That made my day because I had a really bad day today.
Aw.
So, yeah, there you go.
I'm glad you feel better.
Thank you. All right. What else we got?
Hello again from Kentucky. Quickly, can you answer this? I try to look up, and it's kind of hard to find out. Lately, I've been seeing, and even Jim Norton has advertised Blue Chew, and there's some other one, the Roman or some crap. It seems like suddenly you can get ED medication online fairly easily.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering, they advertise them as having the same ingredients. Is this legit, or is
Yeah, so we're running out of time, so let me take 2 seconds to explain how this works. So they are legit. They're using a technique called telemedicine. So there are some states where it is legal to do an initial face-to-face visit with a patient as long as you're not writing a controlled substance through this thing called telemedicine. The reason this law was created was to broaden people's access to health care. So, for example, I've got maybe somebody in Russell County, which is a little county, a million miles from the Weird Medicine Studios, that need something, specialty evaluation, but we can't get up there quick enough. We could do it through telemedicine. We put a camera on me, a camera on them. We take a history. The person there can do a physical. They can even allow me to hear their heart and their lungs and stuff like that. And then we can make a diagnosis and make recommendations. And so that's what they're doing, basically, is they've got physicians. And I don't know if they're using nurse practitioners and PAs or not. I just don't know. And it may vary by state. In some states, maybe you have to be an MD or a DO. But it doesn't matter. They're using providers. Yeah. And they take a history and make sure that there's no contraindications. And then they can write it. And then they can sell it to you, too. So if they say it is the same thing that's in Viagra, or that they're actually selling you Viagra and Cialis, then that's pretty much on the up and up. It's the ones where they say, well, it has the same effect as that little blue pill. They'll say that you need to look at the ingredients, because a lot of times it's the same old, horny goat weed and saw palmetto that's always been in everything.
Can I hear a lot of the Blue Chew ads actually myself, and I'm like, I've wondered if this would help.
Yeah, it's for real. And that stuff is legal. You just got to vet them. If it's one that you're not sure about, just when you call them, you say, hey, am I actually getting sildenafil or Cialis teladalafil or whatever the hell it is? And, is that what we're really getting?
Read your labels.
And if they say yes, then they'll be in big trouble with the federal government if they say they're selling you one thing but actually selling you something
What
else.
are the restrictions on what they can prescribe you? As far
Depends on the state. And it depends on the state that they're prescribing in, too. They may, in some of those places, may say, oh, well, we can't prescribe in, say, Vermont or something. I'm just throwing that out, as an example. So there may be reciprocity requirements. So there's all kinds of just little, I'm not all into all that. The laws. If I need to become an expert on it for you guys to tell you what's what, I can be an expert in 5 minutes, but that's the gist of it. And so it is totally legal for them to write prescription drugs. They can write other things too, but it makes more sense to do this sort of lifestyle stuff because you're less likely to get sued with that than you would trying to do telemedicine for blood pressure medicine. Then somebody has a stroke and they're not following up, and that kind of stuff. So that's why they're doing a lot of this lifestyle stuff.
Got it.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Hell, what else you got? We got 52 seconds. Nothing?
No.
Scott?
No.
Oh, for God's sake. He does have something.
Well,
and watch, he'll go 3 minutes. We got 42 seconds.
There is a Chinese herb they're using in China right now to help with the treatment of coronavirus.
Oh, really?
It's an old formula called guizitong. It's a cinnamon-based formula. Yeah,
we got to talk about that next time because I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's real easy to test, and we can develop a double-blind, placebo-controlled study or just an observational study because you hate to do a placebo-controlled trial when you got a deadly virus that you're dealing with. So we'll talk about the ethics of that next time. Remind me, okay, if you don't mind. Aspirin can prevent colon cancer, particularly in people who are at high risk. So it's like there may be something in there.
Yep. Coffee can help liver cancer.
Well, can it?
Not,
I don't know.
No. Not.
Now you made a damn statement I can't support. But
I'm gonna find.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Drinking 4 cups of coffee.
I'm just saying I can't support it.
Lowers your risk.
Yeah, I've seen the coffee studies. It's like they'll have one study come out and say that it prevents pancreatic cancer, but increases your risk for bladder cancer. So it's like, what do you want to die of?
Well, that's what it all comes down to.
You're gonna fucking die.
Basically,
I'll just drink beer.
I'll drink this old style.
That's right.
It's really terrible beer. I'm sorry.
Let's take another. Oh, speaking of beer, by the way, the beer run is no more.
Right.
Where's our cooler and our beer and all that kind of stuff? What's going on with
the
that?
cooler's at Johnson City Brewery being stored until somebody wants to pick it up.
Okay, so it's in So it's the cooler is gone.
Yes, it's being sorted at a friend of ours in Johnson City.
Okay.
At a wonderful brewery there, that it's ready for if anybody needs a big beautiful cooler.
It's the biggest cooler you've ever seen.
It's beautiful. It's 9 glass doors, 28 taps. It is for sale. We'll make them a big good deal.
Yeah.
If anybody needs one to start up a new company, for sure.
There you go.
Just let us know. It's Weird Medicine.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, let us know. All right. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, let's see here.
Hey, Dr. Steve, just a quick question. Been having this pain kind of in my rectum, below where your taint is, and it's just a sharp, piercing pain. 25 years old, and I mean, it comes and goes. Just curious if it's something you should be worried about or not.
Okay. So he had pain in his rectum. Rectum nearly killed him. There you go.
Oh, I thought he said it was in the taint area.
Well, he first said rectum, and then I think he said
below his taint.
Below. Okay.
So that makes me think of spasm of the pelvic floor. I've had that before. Have you ever had a muscle spasm in your taint?
No.
Oh, God, it's awful. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like if you have a muscle spasm in your foot, you can stretch your foot in the other way. Try stretching your taint in any way. It's really hard to do. So when you get a muscle spasm, I've had that when I've coughed before, and you kind of, you pucker up, and then it just triggers the spasm of the pelvic floor muscles. And if you have that chronically, it can cause, chronic pelvic pain, and it's a real lifestyle, screwer over, So there are some exercises that you can do there if you are prone to muscle spasms like Charlie horses of the taint. You could try to take the quinine.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure.
Because that helps with muscle spasms of all kinds. And but the only way you can get quinine is in tonic water now.
Yep.
Are muscle spasms in that region at all related to hemorrhoids?
Could be.
Really?
Yeah, depending on how much pain you've got, or
so what'll happen is
fissures. You could have fissures or hemorrhoids.
Right. So if you have a fissure and then you move your bowels, for example, and you get this horrible pain, you can actually spasm to the point where it rips the fissure even wider. So it sucks.
Yep.
And you never think about your dumb rectum until all of a sudden it hurts 10 out of 10, and then that's all you can think about. So this thing called pelvic floor dysfunction or levator syndrome, it's abnormal spasm of the muscles of the pelvic floor, and that can happen after bowel movements or just any old time. And patients sometimes will have real long periods of this sort of vague pain, and then all of a sudden it can acutely get worse. So I'm looking to see if there's anything interesting that I can tell them that they can do right now for this. Let me see.
Well, I think you mean to jump?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, while you're looking, I'd say a couple things, jumping in there and trying to find, number one, the cause, if it is after a heavy bowel movement, or if it is after exercise or riding a bicycle or something.
Find the underlying cause first.
Yeah, if there's some prostate issues, or if there's some seminal vesicle issues or anything down in your taint area, is certainly an issue. But there's some interventional stuff we can do in pain medicine.
If they have prolapsed rectum, you would need surgery.
But he'd know that. Yeah, that wouldn't be intermittent pain.
That's right. I mean, some people can stuff their rectum back in and just walk around with it.
Yeah, that's after they've had it for a little while.
Till the next time they get fisted, and then they get the big old pig sock. Yikes.
But he would know that. One would assume he would know that.
So you said it's not prostate related.
It could be.
It could be.
It absolutely could be, yeah. Any pressure down in that area, depending on the size of the person, could be an issue.
Yeah.
Sure could, yeah.
They'll do biofeedback on these people, too, just to stop the spasm.
Yeah, we'll do needles on people. We can do acupuncture. We do anesthesia, do blocks down there. We can do a bunch of things, yep.
Yep. The anesthesiologist can go in and give them injections of anesthetics.
That's the first point in the REN channel right there. I mean, I can put needles in.
Don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Cost extra. Cost extra.
God. Can you imagine him putting a damn acupuncture needle in your stupid taint?
Exactly. I love it. People look on my those anatomical charts and they'll say, "Do you really put a needle there?" And I'm like, I can.
I don't know how I explain that to insurance. Like, you got to write.
He doesn't have to deal with insurance. He doesn't take insurance.
Okay.
Cash on the barrel hit. But I'll tell you what. Baby. That's a different model because he doesn't have to employ a bunch of people to file insurance, so he actually can charge less.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So his actual office visit about the same as a copay at my office. So it's
without the grief.
Yeah,
because he's one and
it's not
relative
grief. It's not that bad. So
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
You avoid an awkward trip to Walgreens.
Get that checked anyway, just to make sure that you aren't having a problem with. Pudendal nerve or something like that, particularly if you're a bike rider. If you are a bicycle rider, let's just say this right now, that the bike seats on these marathon bike rides can put pressure on the pudendal nerve, which runs through the taint, and you end up with either a painful, tingly penis or a numb, non-functional penis.
Ooh.
So you always want to get pudendal nerve sparing bicycle seats if you're going to ride for a long time.
Because it's not always reversible.
Yeah.
Oh, so that could be permanent.
It can be
if you do it long enough.
That's crazy.
So I recommend they've got some seats that just you sit on your ass bones.
Your sits.
And that's it.
Sits bones.
If you feel under your ass where if you're sitting down, you can feel this bone, and that's your ischial tuberosity. It comes down from the pelvis, and it's like two little triangles, and you sort of sit on those. And they make bicycle seats that's the only contact that you have is on those two places, and it doesn't put contact on your taint and pressure where you're just putting the weight of your body on there. So anyway, all right. So there you go. Thanks always go to Dr. Scott and to Smithsoni-Andy. Hope you'll come back. For real, that was fun having you here, man. And we're going to be doing some projects together, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yep. And then we've got old Cliff, who actually was Smithsoni-Andy's employee at one time.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
How weird was that when you walked up and here's your old boss going, "Is this Dr. Steve?"
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
It is actually. I was sitting in the car and I'd look at my rearview mirror. I'm like, well, that kind of looks like my old boss.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, so that's very cool. Well, anyway, glad to have facilitated your reunion. And if you guys can come back again, let me see who this is. If it's somebody we want to put on the air. Uh-oh. No, that's my kid's school. I probably need to get that at some point. And that's all right.
I'm telling you, the schools are closed tomorrow because of the virus.
Well, they have been. Yeah, they were closed here for a week.
Yeah.
Man.
So anyway.
Gotta make that time up.
But thank you guys for coming. Don't forget to check out feels.com/fluid for 50% off your first subscription order. Feels.com is pharmaceutical grade CBD that is also broad spectrum CBD. And check out stuff.drsteve.com, stuff.drsteve.com for all your shopping needs at Amazon. It really makes a big difference. And tweakedaudio.com, offer code FLUID for 33% off the best earbuds for the money and the best customer service you can find anywhere. If you want to hit your ideal body weight with me right now, go to noom.drsteve.com. This is the lightest I've been since college, and I've actually kept it off all this time. Noom.drsteve.com. It's not a diet. It's an app, and you'll get 2 weeks free and 50%, no, not 50% off, some percentage off. I think it's 20% off if you decide to buy it after you start. And it's only a 3-month program, no points, none of that. So noom.drsteve.com. And don't forget, check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net. All right, very good. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps, quit smoking, get off your asses, and get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine.